again. So last time, in our last lesson, we talked about how God was the keeper of promises. And how some of God's promises happen right now, like when he promises us that he will always be with us. And some of God's promises don't happen until the future, like when God promised the people of Galilee that his son would be coming. And today we're going to talk about Abraham and Sarah and how God made a promise to them. And so our verse today is from Genesis 17:15 through 21, and it goes like this. Then God said, Sarai's name will now be Sarah. She will have a son. She will be the mother of nations. Abraham laughed. Will I have a son after I'm 100 years old? Will Sarah have a baby after she's 90? Maybe you can do these good things for Ishmael instead. Sarah will have a son, said God. Name him Isaac. My promise is for him and his family forever. But I hear what you say about Ishmael. I will do good things for him. He will have a big family too. But my promise is for Isaac. And so Abraham and Sarah had not had a son up to this point. They had not had any kids up to this point. And they did want kids, but they were older and they did not think that it was going to happen. So when God spoke to them and said that you will have a son named Isaac, I promise you this, and I promise that his family will have my promise and he will be protected under me. This was a promise that he made to Abraham, and it was a little hard for Abraham to believe it. Sometimes we hear promises we read them in the Bible, and we hear promises from our friends and our family, and we don't believe them. We just don't. Sometimes my sister promises me, Sissy, I promise that I will not bother you for the next 2 days, and she does, and she does not keep her promise. So Abraham was a little skeptical, you could say, of God, but he believed him nonetheless, and he got Isaac. And Abraham could hear when God was coming. He heard the wind shaking in the leaves, and he could hear the birds around him calling. And he could even hear God talking to him when God said, Sarah will have a son named Isaac, but he could not hear God's promise. And what does this mean? It means that he didn't believe it. He heard God's promise. He heard God speaking to him, but he did not know that God was actually going to keep his promise. But we know that God always keeps his promises. So when some people make promises to us and then they don't keep it, how does that make you feel? It makes you feel sad. It makes you feel frustrated. It makes you feel maybe betrayed. But sometimes people make these promises that they can't keep. We talked about this in the last lesson, when some things might come up and these promises might not be able to happen. But God never forgets the promises that he makes. God kept his promise to Abraham and Sarah. He told them that they would have a son. He told them that even though they were old, he was going to bless them with a son, and he did. And the baby came just when God said that it would. The baby came when God said, you will have a son, this is what you will name him, and this is what his life will be like. And this is what happened in the exact order that he said it would happen. Abraham named the baby Isaac like God told him to name the baby. And he was 100 years old when Isaac was born, so he was an old man. And this could be the reason why he didn't 100% believe that God was going to keep his promise. But nonetheless, God did keep his promise to Abraham and Sarah, just as God will keep his promises that he makes to you and I. So now we're going to pray. Dear God, thank you for being a keeper of promises. As we've read the last couple of weeks, how you have kept your promises to people in the Bible and how you keep your promises to us, God, remind us that your promises are promises that will never fail. They will always be true, just as you tell us they will be in your word. God, be with these children, keep them safe in their summertime adventures until we can see each other again.